in our Owl Fest. And my name is Scott McCorkle, falconer. Run this place along with my wife Carol. And this is Spyder. Spyder's a Barbary falconer. We're going to fly Spyder for you here in just a minute. And one of the reasons we fly birds, other than it's really cool to get to see them fly, it's not something you get to see very often, is that this is something that we do a lot of. We take injured birds that are questionable as whether they can be released, and I'll train them and take them out and hunt with them and see if they can survive in the wild. And also it's great for getting them into physical condition. Our name, the Avian Reconditioning Center. Avian refers to birds, and reconditioning is getting birds back into shape for release. Most of our birds have come from another facility, and they've probably been sitting in a dog kennel for months, and they're totally out of shape. And if you release a bird that's totally out of shape, it's going to be slow. It may not catch enough, which will result in it being slower, and your bird may die. You spend a lot of money and vet time going in to get the bird healed up, and then you release it and it's not in shape, and you've wasted your time. So we have large flight cages. We have our latest, the 100-foot back here, 100 foot long, 20 feet high, 20 feet wide, required to work with eagles. And it's just basically an open cage with some perches in there so that birds that have experience but need a little time just to stretch their wings, try to get back in a little bit of shape, we can put them in there. We also have a 50-foot version of that behind this building that you cannot see, and a 30 also. So we're constantly building new facilities. All volunteer. We have no paid staff members, and we get no funding from the government. We get regulated by the government. We have 4 different permits to do this, and each one of those permits is a combined state and federal government permit. I have to go through both the state and federal government. And some of the regulations for the same birds are different depending on whether they're held under a falconry license or an education license. I have a falconry license, allows me to take birds and train them and go out and hunt with them. We have an education license, and this is education, going to the schools, talking to people about birds. I also have an abatement license, which abatement is basically terrifying birds. We worked on the blueberry farms last year against the cedar waxwings. They came in a couple of years ago, and in about a week eliminated almost 30% of their crop. So we take Spyder over there, and it's an 80-acre field, and he can clear an 80-acre field of waxwings. There'll be thousands of them in there, and he can clear an 80-acre field in 10 minutes. So he's very effective as long as he's there. And now we're over in Daytona on the condos, oceanfront, flying against pigeons, to keep pigeons off the buildings. So he's actually a bird that I can make some money with for a change. That's what it's costing me. And he's related to the peregrine falcon. I'll step forward just a little bit. Get out of there. I'll take him into the sun for you if you want. Just a second. I'll be cooked by the end of the day. The peregrine is the dark gray bird sitting right there. Looks a lot like him except for the coloration. He's related to the peregrine at some point, distant relation. He's an African bird, Africa up into the Mediterranean. But he was captive bred in Washington State. I bought him to hunt with and to do abatement, and also do flight demonstrations. Got a captive bred band on, this little brass band around his leg, required on all captive bred raptors. If you want to sell it, it has to have that band on there. And they slide that over his foot when he's about 11 or 12 days old, and within a couple of days they grow so fast that the foot will be so large it'll never come off. And that's a U.S. Fish and Wildlife supplied band. It has numbers on it. I assume they can trace back and find out who bred it, and that I do legally possess this bird. Particularly anything that's a peregrine, they're very particular about, and I don't think very many of the officers are going to know that this is not a peregrine. Even some falconers don't recognize that this is not a peregrine. Not many people fly these. They're a wide-ranging bird in the wild. They live in a desert area where there's not much prey, so they will go long distances to look for prey, and if you're out hunting with him and he sees something a mile or so away, he may go after that, although he's been the most reliable bird I've ever owned. I flew him a lot last year, and I've flown him quite a bit this year. So what we're going to, and because he is related to the peregrine, which is the fastest animal on earth, and he's probably not a lot slower, I run radio telemetry on him because he can just be gone. He can cover ground very quickly, and if he wants to leave, I need to find some way to track him down. And he went all last year and never spent a night outside, which is very unusual for a falcon. But this year he's already spent 2 nights outside. So I can track him with that. It just beeps once a second. I have what they call a directional receiver that's on the table back there. You've probably seen it on TV. Basically, when it's pointed at the source of the beep's loud, and as you come off about 90 degrees, you'll lose the beep altogether, and it allows you to track them down. It works real well. It takes a long time to learn how to use it, but it's good enough that now in our kids' camps, we'll take this transmitter and bury it in the grass somewhere where they can't see it, and then I'll have them tell me which way to go with the tracker, and we'll find it. So what we're going to do today is we're going to fly Spyder up to that balloon. The balloon, excuse me, 600 feet up, 650 feet up. The lure that's hanging below it, which is hard to see, it's a piece of leather. We tie food onto it. The birds are trained to come to that. And the next bird, I will just lure fly him. I'll be on the ground flying, swinging the lure around. He's going to fly up there, grab the lure that's got meat on it, and it'll unsnap, hopefully, and slide down the line, and he'll end up, I'm not sure exactly where. It depends on how hard he pulls on it. But, so now if we put a 600-foot ladder up there, how long do you think it'd take you guys to get up 600 feet? Yeah, that might be exactly right, forever. He generally makes it in a little under 2 minutes. Wow. So, and you're not going to see a lot of speed, but you will get to see him fly some. And as soon as I take the hood off, he's probably going to bolt. That's his normal method. And once I get him down on the ground and hooked up, I'll tell you, and you can walk over and take pictures close if you want to, but give me a chance to get him hooked back up. I don't want him to take off.